straat eensaam, met lyding en hoop, verdriet en saam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuistes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is steeds deur ons adem, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groeit, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Hello, folks, and welcome back once again to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania, March 13th, 2024. Well, Donald John Trump and Joseph Robinette Biden have secured their parties' respective nominations for president with the delegate count last night. Trump soaring past that, taking all the delegates, leaving those who dropped out of the race with nothing to show for it. Congratulations to Donald John Trump, who wins his third consecutive nomination for president of the United States, unprecedented for a man under attack by a bunch of demonic leftists. It's amazing that he's actually come back from where he was just a couple of years ago. Welcome back to the program, folks. Ma Baker's here. Joe Berg's without water for 2 weeks. Yep, they find that the valve was shut off. Once again, incompetence, stupidity, moronic conduct, and this is what happens when you hire people based on patronage or skin pigmentation, not based on merit. You should hire people who are the best for the job, not because you know them and not because you are tied to them in some way. Dylan Combrick, welcome to you. And Teresa's there, Sloth Puppy. Hey, wow, it's been a while. Welcome back. Jan says, were you in Grenada? No, in 1983, I wasn't in the Army when Grenada happened. In fact, I was sleeping on the couch after returning from Maryland. Just days before I entered active duty for basic training, I flew from Columbus, Ohio to St. Louis and took the bus out to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. That was on the 2nd of November, 1983. This was just a short time before that. And I was sitting on the couch sleeping when my mother woke me up. at the farm in Southeast Ohio and said, "You're going to war! You're going to war!" And I said, no. I have to go to basic training. That's 2 or 3 months before I even finish that. I start in November and I don't finish until February. So I'm not going to war. This will be over before then. And even as a 18-year-old, I was cognizant enough to know world events that this conflict would not last more than a few days or a week at most, which is what it did. I don't know about the story of using Soviet tanks. There weren't many, if any, I'm aware, that were on the island. It was a Soviet client, and that's why Reagan invaded. He used the excuse of the American medical school, or the medical school with American students there, to go in, but really it was about containing the Cold War. I'm wearing South African kit today, but it's not rugby, it's music. Francois van Gogh. And for those of you who know, I interviewed him in Belleville, his hometown there outside Cape Town recently. Just a second here, I've got some messages, I've got to see what's going on here. Sorry. Okay, so I'll send it later. All right, so about that. Okay, so Mira Hayes. Hey, Mira, welcome back. Earl Fenter. Yes, I don't know about the tanks being used by Marine Corps there. There were about 6,000 U.S. military actually landed on the island in total, plus those at sea who were on ships and in the air supporting the events. But yeah, that was a pretty quick little war. Yep, pretty quick. Remember, Ronald Reagan was the warmonger who would lead us into a war, a nuclear conflagration, Armageddon with the Soviets. Yeah, the only person doing that is Joe Biden with the Russians. Of course, Reagan did lead us into a war like that. That was utter nonsense. Reagan did have combat and did have casualties during his presidency those 8 years. Of course, we had the Marine Corps barracks bombing October 23rd, 1983. 241 Americans murdered by terrorists in 1983. We also had this Grenada thing that took place. In addition to this, we had, during his time, support for the Contras. And then also, U.S. reflagging commercial ships in the Persian Gulf to protect them. And so we were involved in that as well. But beyond that, he didn't drag us in any wars, unlike George Bush, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden, all of whom have drug Americans in the wars and caused unnecessary casualties and buried our dead and lost our national treasure. Remember Joe Biden standing on the tarmac at McGuire Air Force Base in Delaware not McGuire, which is Dover Air Force Base, when the dignified return of remains came for the Americans killed in Afghanistan. Remember Joe Biden? Looking at his wristwatch. By the way, who has a wristwatch in 2024? Almost nobody except octogenarians like Joe Biden. But Joe Biden staring at his wristwatch because he didn't want to be there, because he had no respect for the service members whose lives he stole through his callous, inept foreign policy. Yep. Looks like there will be immigrant invasions in various areas of America. Yeah, there already are. Bernard, welcome to you. Mark Myberg is here. Hey, Mark, haven't seen you for a while. I've seen Patron, but not you. Little Miss Know-It-All is back once again, and there's George. Good to see you all. Well, let's get to the news, folks. This is an earlier version of the news, as usual, because it's Wednesday, and I'll be on with Wednesdays with the Colonel on Ronaldo here shortly. Speaking of which, let me just go ahead and set up a link for him, because I have not done that. Schedule a meeting. Sorry. I've just been very busy this morning. And today is also the day of my debate tonight, so there's a lot going on with that. So I've got some prep for that going on, plus my campaign stuff. It's all pretty full. So let me just save this real quick and then get him the link. Meetings. Sorry about that, folks. Appreciate your patience, because otherwise I don't get this done. So we'll do Wednesdays with the Colonel, with Ronaldo. Let me send Ronaldo the link real quick. Go. Got it. All right. So that's taken care of. Thank you for your indulgence and your patience, folks. I do appreciate that. 4 Rolex, some old plus new. Yeah, no, that's fine. But most people don't wear wristwatches anymore. A lot of people are wearing things on the wrist once again, but they're smartwatches, not so much wristwatches as such. You could call them a wristwatch, but they're really smartwatches. Since 76, how many years has America not been at war? Most of the years we've not been at war, Slippery Pickle. Most of the years we've not been at war. Yeah, most of the years. But I've never calculated how many years we've not been at war. But let's take that argument further. Aside from Switzerland and Sweden, how many years have other countries not been at war? Russia's been in almost continuous war. Turkey's been in almost continuous war. The United Kingdom, in one way or another, has been almost continuous war. Take your pick. There's been a war, whether it was their choosing or by circumstance, they've been in conflict. Most countries. South Africa was at war with itself for decades, and it's currently involved in multiple wars. So South Africa's been at war ever since the ANC took over. almost immediately, President Mandela sent South African troops abroad to interfere in the conduct of other nations. So South Africa has been pretty much at war as the entire time it's been a democracy. Not just the occasional flare-up when people notice that South Africans run away and hide in the Central African Republic and get wiped out by a bunch of untrained teenage guerrillas, or how it's failed to dislodge a handful of ghouls in Cabo Delgado. So South Africa's been at war forever as well. What do you call someone who does a massive amount of debating? I have no idea. I think I know what that is. Yeah, okay. Stru's Bob is back. Wow, Israel is about civil against uncivilized. USA is on the right side of history now. Biden is now showing interest in the Mexico border. Yeah, the Democrats, I'll have a story on that, have actually suddenly realized there's a border because they know they are going to get destroyed. And their ability to pilfer events of November isn't as clear as they thought it was. So now they actually have to stand on policy rather than simply counting on people to count things for them in November. Yeah, how do we say that without, getting accused of violating YouTube's rules? Well, that's how you say it. I didn't make any allegations or claims about the events of 2020, the choosing, or 2024. Vilma Rasmus, welcome to you. All right, let's get on to the news, folks. By the way, I did an abbreviated version of the opening there. Did you like that? Yeah, mostly in Africa. My niece in Russia pays 12 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. I pay 12 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. It's Rand. No, I don't pay Rand. Oh, no, that's nothing. That's nothing, Trevor. Wow, I pay a lot more than that. I'm sorry, you said Rand, 12 Rand cents. No, that's nothing. Yeah, no, I pay a lot more than that. But that's because of the war on energy fostered by the political leftists who've destroyed our energy infrastructure in this country. They've halted the Keystone XL pipeline, and as a consequence of that, nasty oil sands, oil from Alberta is being shipped by trucks, very dangerous on pristine roads and environmental areas out to Vancouver, loaded onto super tankers and shipped across the Pacific to be burnt in refineries by the Chinese that don't have environmental standards like we do in the Gulf states. What a tragedy for the environment. What a tragedy for the planet. What a tragedy for North America. All of that money could stay in North America. Canadian oil sands to the Gulf Coast, refined, distributed across North America. All the money stays here. Yep. Nope. The environmentalists want to block the Keystone XL pipeline with fraudulent claims that it's going through Native American graveyards. Nonsense. And it's harming the environment. Nonsense. It's mostly a gravity flow from higher elevation to lower elevation in most places, and it's actually a very good idea. So they're just idiots. U.S. Marines deployed to Haiti amid escalating. Yes, that's yesterday's news, Jan. I covered that yesterday. U.S. Marines evacuated Americans and left a contingency force behind. This is not unusual. In Africa, we tend to do evacuations once or twice a year from somewhere in Africa. And in fact, I've been in an embassy that was evacuated down almost nobody. So yeah, not while I was there. It had already been evacuated. I came in a low strength embassy. So yeah, what's this? Hang on a second here. Oh my goodness. Someone offering me stuff for the campaign here, and then they just offered it to me at over twice what I paid for my service that I got. So I made the right decision. And what is Ken laughing at? Slippery Pickle said it's a mass debater. Yeah, that's what I figured you were going to say. All right, let's get the news. And I didn't get this set up properly, so make sure it goes correctly. Here we go. We'll try. Okay, that's not good. It didn't work. There we go. Now we got it. Stupid. Sometimes the software doesn't want to play nice. Johannesburg water crisis. You South Africans don't have security. They don't have jobs. They don't have education. They don't have electricity. And now they don't even have water. Soon you won't have food. It'll be Snake Plissken and Escape from LA or Escape from New York coming to a theater near you. Only we'll call it District 9 in South Africa. Wow. Crazy stuff. Joburg water crisis, day 11. Well, almost 2 weeks now. And the city admits that, the reason there's no water is because the closed valve. What? Rand Water is apparently trying to understand why a valve has been closed while Johannesburg's water systems were trying to recover from a massive outage at one of the pumping stations nearly 2 weeks ago. Can you say sabotage? The investigation began when the bulk water supplier's technical teams found that no water was going to the system feeding more than 20 suburbs in the Randburg. Some parts of Joburg are still without water 11 days after a lightning strike to the Rand Water's Eichenhof pump station. So instead of simply fixing the station, you should do an audit of the entire system, run through all the pipes, all the valves, all the checkpoints, all the gates, all the sluices. But of course, they're too stupid to do that. Tuesday night, a meeting was held between Johannesburg Water, Mayor Kabelo Gondongwana, and ward councillors feel that the technical teams investigated why Leiden 1 and the Blair Gowrie reservoirs were not filling up. They found a valve in a closed position. In a closed position. People have not showered. They've not had water to cook. They've not been able to flush commodes for 2 weeks. This is absolute insanity. Can you believe this? Speaking of insanity, let me go ahead and bring this video up. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll do it now. I just have to turn the volume down so I don't get some sort of copyright strike. Let me pull this up because I don't know the provenance of this video. Okay.
This is what the Rainbow Nation has become.
All right.
Never in my life did I...
Okay, this is what the Rainbow Nation has become, this gentleman. So we're going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to show you. This is Durban rubbish. So Erica, are you here? You should be very glad you got out of Durban because this is what Durban looks like. All right, you ready for this? Here we go, folks. This is Durban, South Africa. Here you go. Ready for this? Gentleman driving by in his car. You can see it's obviously South Africa driving on the wrong side of the road, and his steering column is located at the incorrect side of the car. Look at that rubbish. And that's nothing. Wait till we get started on this turn here. This is South Africa. Pigs leaving their waste in public. Think about the vermin, the rats that this will attract. Not to mention the public health hazard it's going to cause by disease flowing into the water table and being out in the environment. Look at this. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Look at this. Disgusting. And he comes across people picking through the trash, trying to find things to live off of, and then others dumping trash and laughing about it right there on the left-hand side by the white combi. They're just laughing about it. They think it's funny that there's trash out there. Absolutely insane. That's South Africa in 2024. That's the ANC, what ANC brought you. That was never the case under the National Party. Never the case under the National Party, not even remotely. Such things would never be tolerated. Umgeni River, straight into the sea. Exactly. The reason why I would never bathe or even put my feet in the water at Durban ever again. It's a disgusting cesspool toilet. It's horrible. Yeah, the valve is closed because nobody wears a wristwatch. That's funny. Joburg water. Well, South Africa is okay. The finance minister, who some of us said, well, he's the most competent minister in the government, proves he's a moron as well. The finance minister says that South Africa is in no jeopardy of running out of money because we always have the ability to tax people. Perhaps Enoch Gondongwana is unaware that almost nobody is paying taxes in South Africa and that you are destroying their lives and they will simply leave the country at some point or evade taxes. What an idiot. A total moron this guy must be. Finance Minister Enoch Gondongwana says the government's not running out of money and can never run out of money because it can always tax its citizens. In an interview with SABC News, he said this. Wow. He said the government's working to manage public finances prudently and sustainably. That is comical. He said no government runs out of money when they can tax people any day. If we're running out of money, we would have increased taxes. We didn't do so because we're confident that we're not running out of money. Is that like we don't need farmers because we get our food from Checkers? Unfortunately, the racist in the National Party, the argument they made, these idiots are creating stereotypes that prove the point, which don't prove the point, but you get my point there. Wow. Wow. Enoch Gondongwana says we're not running out of money because we can simply steal from the productive sector of society if the handful actually contribute. And, no harm, no foul. Not to mention the fact that the debt has risen to an unsustainable level and 20% of the current budget pays the debt interest, not even the principal, but the interest. 1 out of 5 rand pays interest, not principal. And Enoch Gondongwana says we're not out of money. Then why are you borrowing money if you're not out of money? My goodness. Well, Jacob Zuma, surprise, surprise, is the candidate for the Mkhonto weSizwe party, although it's illegal for him to serve as president. He's already served in his 2 terms. In addition to that, he is also barred from holding office for 5 years because of a criminal conviction and prison sentence. But hey, we're still putting him on the list. MK announced the 81-year-old former president and medical parolee Jacob Zuma as its presidential candidate in the national and provincial elections. They do not want any engagements on the topic, said the party's youth leader Bonginkosi Kanyile, who recently threatened to turn South Africa into a bloodbath if the MK party wasn't on the ballot. But not arrested for terroristic threats, not arrested for hate speech, simply allowed to walk the streets like any other race-hustling moron. Said the party's youth leader, said he told the media they were fearlessly prepared to lay down their lives if MK or Zuma is removed from the ballot and there won't be any elections. fearlessly lay down their lives. You want to bet that's a bunch of nonsense? A bunch of nonsense. So, they're saying that he is going to be their presidential candidate. Well, good luck with that. You should swap the tax tables the way that most people will pay the majority and the force middle class, lower class, and the poor to improve their own living standards conditions. Teeny says they did not raise the tax bracket. They're just taking more money from poor people. I didn't say they raised the tax bracket. He said they can raise taxes at any time. The Jocelyn Smith tragedy, 3 have abandoned bail application, and the charges were withdrawn against the purported Sangoma, the lady in red. There's the mother with that sick-looking face on her. Charged against the 4th accused implicated in the disappearance of Jocelyn Smith, the alleged Sangoma Pumza Sigakwa, were withdrawn today in the Vredenburg Magistrates Court. The court heard that Jocelyn's mother, her boyfriend, and Giaconapolis and Stefano von Rijn have all abandoned their bail applications. This woman had her charges removed. It's confirmed police are following up with several leads whereabouts of Jocelyn. The other 3 will remain in custody after the one is released. Chaos outside the court when people were angry. The crowd was chanting, "We want Jocelyn. Unser Kind. Uns komm jau hal." Coming to fetch you. What did you say? Wow. I said, wow. Clarence Subramanian. Thank you, Clarence Subramanian. Appreciate your subscription. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So, Ekerhuleni, more chaos as the ANC reneges on its agreement to oust the mayor. The ANC cannot be counted on anything except to look in its own interest, not in the interest of South Africans, and it proves it once again. Action SA called for a vote of no confidence, and of course that was scuppered over an illegitimate, illegal parliamentary process, which failed to resume the previous meeting when the ANC and the EFF got into an altercation of fisticuffs, throwing things at each other in the council. That was postponed, and instead of continuing that meeting, they postponed that and started the next meeting, which is illegal under parliamentary procedure, and therefore the DA boycotted, left the council meeting, came back at 4 p.m. to vote, and the mayor survived the vote of no confidence because the ANC betrayed everyone. No confidence motion is still in the cards, however. Sivuyule Ngondwana is still the Ickerley mayor after the council adjourned ahead of motion of no confidence. The motion was set for yesterday after postponed on February 29th. But the ANC bailed on their previous agreement. Yep. The ANC was locked in a fierce debate after party leaders instructed the caucus to vote against the motion for withdrawing, even though they previously said they were going to vote for it. This is a complete turnaround since their stance last week. The ANC proposed an amendment for the motion for collective executive back on February 29th. This is where the party with most of the councillors, majority coalition, decides on who gets the mayoral position, and the MACO is then made up of the leading parties in the coalition. The DA proposed an amendment that the council be dissolved instead of going through a merry-go-round of motions and leaders. And this is one of the biggest reasons why South Africa's governance is in the trap, is in the cock, is in the crapper, is in the total nonsense. Because you have a parliamentary system at city level. That's ridiculous. You cannot have such a system of government. And when South Africa goes through the May 29th elections and no party has a majority, and you're forced into a devil's bargain to have a coalition, whether it's a grand coalition, the Zimbabwe nuclear option, or it's one of the other coalition options, which I analyzed and provided in a video last night. Whatever the case is, South Africa will be like Italy post-war. One government after another as these governments bicker and these coalitions fall apart, and then we move forward. It's a disaster for South Africa. Wolf, I answer this question almost every other day. Why do people ask me if I know Colonel Douglas McGregor? I do not know him. I know of him, and I don't watch his podcast. He doesn't back up some of his statements. I'm not criticizing him, just saying that he's made some outlandish claims, and a lot of people come to me and ask for clarification, and I give clarification. He's talking about casualty figures and has no data to support it, and among other things. But yeah, he's a smart guy, and he's well known for a book that he wrote back in the 1990s. South African households are going to see their rates go up by over 12% in April because of the approval of Eskom, which doesn't deliver electricity, to increase its prices. Isn't that amazing? A company that doesn't deliver a service gets to raise its prices. The average South African household could be spending as much as 480 extra rand on their monthly electricity bills starting in April, which means 5,760 rand per year on electricity costs. Wow. The National Energy Regulator, or NERSA, approved a 12.74% increase in January. This is on top of an 18.65% increase last year. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Well, a major UK retailer of discount sporting goods, JD Sports, is coming to South Africa, which raises the question, why? Why would you put retail shops in South Africa? South Africa is chock full of things. You've got Mr. Price Sport, you've got Total Sports, you've got sports sections in all of the major stores. Why would you need JD Sports? This sounds like money being wasted. The Foschini Group has signed a franchise agreement with JD Sports. They are a fashion retailer that sells products with recognized brands such as Nike, Adidas, Puma, as well as private labels, including Pink Soda and Supply and Demand. So this franchise agreement will lead to 40 JD stores over the next 5 years. Now, this is still subject to the exchange control approval and the Financial Surveillance Department of South African Reserve Bank. And if the ANC remains in power, I'll tell you that it also is subject to giving shares to folks based on their skin pigmentation. Yeah, that'll be coming too, just like Elon Musk and Starlink. Action SA files a police report, claims protesters were removed around the Moses Madiba Stadium in Durban, and blames the Inkatha Freedom Party, saying that their posters were removed and Inkatha's were put up. Well, this is a pretty scary story here. Jonathan, once again, okay, thank you. Jonathan, how have the Oppenheimers damaged South Africa? Which Oppenheimers? And what actions have they taken other than just the typical anti-Oppenheimer, anti-Semitic comments that are thrown about by social media? Tell me what the Oppenheimers have done. Name the people. Is it Nicky Oppenheimer? What did Nicky Oppenheimer do? Nicky Oppenheimer created billions of dollars worth of wealth for South Africans, for South African investors, jobs in South Africa and around the world. So I'm not a pro-Oppenheimer. I'm not anti-Oppenheimer. But I'm going to ask for facts here, Jonathan. How? I'd love to hear how they've actually damaged it. I can actually explicitly point to how the ANC has failed South Africa. It's the ANC, not the Oppenheimers. Not the De Beers, not White Monopoly Capital, not Bell Pottinger, although Bell Pottinger did an awful lot of damage to South Africa. As political tensions grow in KZN, Action SA has filed a police report claiming its election posters were removed in the vicinity of the stadium in Durban, the venue where the multi-party charter partner, the IFP, held its manifesto launch over the weekend. Action SA provincial chairperson Zakwela Mchwango said he's reported the matter to the police and urged the city to release footage that may provide evidence of who removed the posters. He alleged in a statement, election posters removed from poles outside Moses Madiba Stadium opposite People's Park and replaced with those of the Inkatha Freedom Party, though we're not sure when this act was carried out. It's sad to witness such conduct 30 years into democracy. These street banners are very expensive, 2,000 rand each. They cannot be damaged by wind, and a person cannot remove them without a stepladder. A spanner is used to erect them on the poles. The Inkatha Freedom Party denies any responsibility. We will never instruct anyone to do that. We just saw it, and we're not aware. We will investigate further. There you go. Well, I can tell you that in that case, the Action SA may have a beef, but I don't know who's responsible for it. I can tell you that my campaign signs were down. When it snowed here, right after we put them up a few weeks back, all of my campaign signs were down in this neighborhood. They were all bent over completely because there was so much snow which hit and stuck to the signs, and the weight pushed them down. I was able to go back and get them all re-erected, and that was before I put most of them out. And then a massive windstorm with gusts over 70 knots per hour was blowing here the past few days, and one of my signs on the major highway near here was missing. The sign was out of the ground. This one may not have been the wind. I suspect there's subterfuge or misconduct by someone. Someone stopped their vehicle, went to the side of the road on a highway, lifted it out of the ground, threw it on the ground, and then drove over it because of the tire marks that were burned to the backside of it. Seems pretty apparent. Now, another sign disappeared, but that sign was clearly ripped out of the ground and blew some measure down the road, and we were able to get those back up and replaced yesterday. So it's a never-ending battle here. In my case, Mother Nature, we know one is Mother Nature. Mother Nature might be the other one, but it's awful suspicious the way that it unfolded there. It's a shame people do that. These signs cost a lot of money. In my case, it's coming out of my pocket, not out of some rich donor like these political parties in South Africa. So a Pretoria woman is assaulted. This is how sick things are in the world today. I'm not picking on South Africa. This is the world. This is a sick world, ladies and gentlemen. A Pretoria woman is assaulted by her family, by her mother and her brother, because she turned in the man who raped their baby. She turned in the man who raped her baby, and they beat her for it. These people are sick. So they think it's okay for a man to stick his penis in a toddler, in an infant. Pretoria woman assaulted by her family for not withdrawing charges against her rapist boyfriend. A 54-year-old mother and her 21-year-old son have appeared before the Outer Ridge Magistrates Court in Tshwane, facing charge of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and I hope they go to jail. The woman and her son, allegedly assaulting her daughter, accused her of being heartless, selfish, and stupid for not withdrawing a case against her rapist boyfriend. The 36-year-old woman's boyfriend was recently sentenced to 2 life terms by the High Court in Pretoria for raping their 11-month-old baby. By the way, for the race hustlers and the hate wankers that come on here and make comments on my videos all the time, the victims here, of course, are black. Who am I standing up for? Black children, black women, the vulnerable. That's right. Pay attention. Take the socks out of your ear. Take the marbles out of your mouth and listen to this. Once again, this is what I do every single day. I stand up for people. I stand up for honest, hardworking people who are the victims of these predators, who are the victims of criminals in government. And I don't care if they're white, they're black, they're brown, they're Jewish, they're Christian, they're Muslim, they're Wiccan. It does not matter to me. People should never be abused by anyone. So for you self-pleasuring hate wankers, you race-hustling, racist, scumbag, black supremacist, and white liberal nonsense talkers, pay attention. The victims here are black. The victims here are black. And once again, just like I stood up for Sifatso Pule, who was 9 months pregnant, hung from a tree, and her throat sliced by her lover, who found her inconvenient and had her killed on a contract for hire, I stood up for her. Just like the young lady at UCT who was raped and murdered by the postal worker. Just like the black cattle farmer in the Free State who was shot in the head by thieves, by criminals. Just like the 26-year-old Indian woman with 3 children and 4 months pregnant whose throat was slit from neck to neck. I stand up for all. So get over yourselves. Stop your bigotry and your nonsense and your supposition about how someone looks determines who they are and what they believe. Because you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're an asswipe. Knock it off. It's alleged that on March 8th, 2023, the 36-year-old daughter visited her sister in Muiplas informal settlement to tell her about the outcomes of a case where her boyfriend was sentenced to 2 life terms by the Pretoria High Court for raping their 11-month-old baby. Thereafter, it's alleged the daughter was the victim in this case, then went to a spaza shop to buy Simba chips. Upon her return, it's alleged that she found her mother sitting on the chair outside her sister's shack. The mother then confronted the 36-year-old daughter about the case, and she replied that she was unable to attend the court proceedings because she did not have money for the taxi fee. However, the investigating officer in the case against her boyfriend had called to update her about the court outcome where the rapist had been jailed. At that point, it's alleged that the mother then started calling the victim, her daughter, stupid, heartless, and selfish while assaulting her with a stick all over her body because she had told her long ago to withdraw the case against her boyfriend. The brother of the victim, who was also with them, started assaulting his sister with an open hand on her face. The woman managed to escape. This is sick. This is a twisted world. A mother defending her 11-month-old child who was raped by a sick pedo rapist. But then South Africa elects pedo rapists to be mayor. Look at Connaught. And this isn't slander. This isn't criminal injury. The man is a convicted child rapist. A convicted child rapist who raped more than one child, according to court reports. And then serves as mayor of Connaught. It's unbelievable. Well, here's something you need to guard on, folks. Be careful when you go to a spaza shop or to a store, or you go to a petrol station or anywhere where you're standing at the till and someone puts something on the counter and then they said, oh, so you can go ahead, step ahead of me. I got to grab something. They're scammers. They're scamming your details off of your contactless credit card. Be careful, folks. When you take that credit card and you put it down there like that, it taps. There's a signal that comes out and they're trying to catch your data to defraud you. Be very careful. If someone offers you a spot, refuse. Criminals are targeting tap and pay in South Africa. What you need to know. A recent security video in South Africa shows how criminals are targeting bank cards with a tap to pay functionality to steal from victims. The contactless payments, such as tapping your card or using your smartphone or smartwatch at point of sale, become increasingly popular because of their convenience. However, and I'm not going to show the video because it's a minute and a half, but be careful of card scammers. This lady here has a gentleman next to her who is scamming her. Yeah, this is pretty scary stuff. So you got to be careful of that. I've been very leery of these contact cards, although they're becoming much more popular. Only half my credit cards are contactless. The rest I have to put the chip in or they have to be swiped. So the chip is the most secure way to do it. Anyway, 3 Egyptian Coptic monks murdered near Cullinan. Wow. What is going on here? Are they being targeted because they're Christians? Are they being targeted because they're thieves who robbed them? Who knows? Nothing was stolen. 3 Egyptian Coptic monks killed in South Africa. Who even knew there were Coptic Christians in South Africa? What are they doing there? 3 Egyptian Coptic monks were killed in a criminal assault inside a Coptic monastery, the Christian Coptic Orthodox Church of Egypt said yesterday. It's a triple murder. 3 monks were subject to a criminal assault inside a Coptic monastery. It was posted on Facebook. All 3 victims were found with stab wounds, while a 4th, who survived, alleged that he was hit by an iron rod before fleeing and hiding. The motive for the murders is unknown. Wow. But nothing was stolen. Kenya's deployment of police to solve Haiti's violent crime and gang situation has been put on hold after the prime minister resigns. The African nation said it would not send a force until Haiti forms a new government after the Haitian prime minister announced his intention to resign. Here's a protester burning tires after the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. These morons, polluting the environment. Grasshopper says the consequences, there's no lobola. Well, they're not married, to my knowledge, so there is no lobola anyway, and they're not going to get married. So they've already had a child, so there was never any lobola coming here. The Biden administration, which has been lying to the public, saying we have no money to give weapons to Ukraine. We have no money. The Republicans are holding up aid for the valiant democracy of Ukraine, except that's just a frickin' lie, as is most coming out of the mouths of the people in the White House. People like Karine Jean-Pierre, the granddaughter of Joseph Goebbels, the propagandist, and also her sister, half-sister, Jen Psaki, who's no longer at the White House, busy peddling her lies on cable news. Well, the Biden administration somehow magically found $300 million to send more weapons to fuel Joe Biden's distractionary proxy war in Ukraine. The Biden administration announced another package of military aid to Ukraine worth $300 million yesterday after months of warning there was no money left. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan announced the package in a briefing to the White House on Tuesday afternoon. When Russian troops advance, its guns fire. Ukraine does not have enough ammunition to fire back. That's costing terrain. It's costing lives. And it's costing us, the United States and the NATO alliance, strategically. And my question is, Jake Sullivan, how? How does it cost us strategically? What vested interest do we have in the safety of Ukraine other than concerns about human rights? Not a major trading partner, not a source of high technology, not a NATO member, has no strategic impact on us. Jake Sullivan, you're lying to the sheep, the gullible sheep. Well, a top Navalny aide has been attacked with a hammer outside his home in neighboring Lithuania. Leonid Volkov, a top aide to Alexei Navalny, was beaten and sprayed with tear gas as he was pulling up to his house in Vilnius. The chief of staff to Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader who died last month in an Arctic penal colony, was attacked with a hammer and tear gas outside his home in Lithuania's capital. Wow. Leonid Volkov, who served as one of Mr. Navalny's top organizers, was pulling up to his house in Vilnius when the attack occurred. At least one assailant smashed his car window, spraying with tear gas and beating him with a hammer. He survived the attack. This is insane. And this is Vladimir Putin's doing, attacking his opponents. Wow. Moving to the United Kingdom has rightly decided to block puberty. What's that? Rejects puberty blockers for children over concerns about safety and benefits. The National Health Service will no longer routinely prescribe puberty blockers for children seeking to switch to the opposite gender, citing a lack of evidence on the safety and benefits of such treatment. In a major blow to the gender transition industry, NHS England said that an evidence review by the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence launched in 2020 found no statistically significant difference in gender dysphoria, mental health, body image, and psychological functioning in children and adolescents treated with puberty-suppressing hormones. We've concluded there's not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of PSH to make the treatment routinely available at this time. Puberty blockers will continue to be available for those under 18 participating in clinical research trials, and doctors can prescribe them on a case-by-case basis. We've always been clear that children's safety and well-being is paramount. Well, finally, the United Kingdom walks into reality and science here, which is being ignored here in the United States. Wow, this is a major development. The National Health Service will not give kids puberty blockers to damage their bodies. That is huge. Absolutely huge. Now, the question is this. If parents take their children abroad to get puberty blockers and come back to the UK, will they be arrested by the government like they did to the couple whose child the National Health System said, well, just put the child in hospice, let it die, when it had a genetic disease, and the family went to the Czech Republic for experimental treatments because the National Health Service refused to provide those treatments, and they decided with their death panels to let an infant, small child die? Those parents were arrested and charged with culpable homicide. Unbelievable. And for violating national health system laws and regulations. Will they do the same to parents who take their children abroad to give them puberty blockers? Well, so let's wait and see. Donald Trump wins Mississippi, Georgia, and Washington primaries and the Hawaii caucus to become the presumptive GOP nominee. Trump sailed through successive contests on March 12th in Georgia, Mississippi, and Washington, claiming 3 more victories as the de facto GOP nominee and the Hawaii caucus. His last remaining rival, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, suspended her campaign back on March 5th. And this is great news for Trump. A judge in Georgia dismisses subversion charges but leaves much of the case intact, which raises the question, why does this judge now, months after the fact, after the outcome of the primaries, which obviously this case was designed to taint the primaries and get people to vote against Donald Trump, now that he's got the nomination, suddenly the judge says, well, there's no merit to these allegations. That's what he says. Why were they ever allowed to be filed and the client's charged with these crimes? The presiding judge in the Georgia criminal case against Donald Trump and his allies has thrown out some of the charge against the former president. The partial dismissal from Judge Scott McAfee leaves most of the racketeering indictment intact. 6 of the 41 charges have been thrown out. The court's concern is less that the state has failed to allege sufficient conduct of the defendants. In fact, is alleged in abundance. However, the lack of detail concerning an essential legal element is, in the undersigned's opinion, fatal. As written, these 6 counts contain all the essential elements of the crimes, but fail to allege sufficient detail regarding the nature of the commission. In other words, the state of Georgia fabricated criminal charges against Trump and 17 other co-defendants, or 18 other co-defendants, fabricated these without any evidence to support the allegations. This is the worst misconduct and misuse of the criminal justice system since Black Americans were denied the right to vote. Black Americans denied their citizenship rights under Jim Crow laws throughout the country from the 1880s until the 1960s. This is horrific. This is unbelievable. Miscarriage of justice here. The fact that this was held until after Trump secured the nomination shows pretty clearly that this is nothing but political garbage. These are not legitimate charges. These are not legitimate trials. This should have been determined before these charges were ever accepted and these people were charged and booked on these criminal charges. This is insane. Absolutely insane. This is the Banana Republic. This is Cuba. This is Belarus. This is Soviet Union. This is communist China under Mao. That's what we're living in today. Well, regardless, despite all of that garbage, Donald Trump has secured 1,241 delegates, and there are still another 9 delegates left to be allocated from last night, which will probably take him over 1,250. He needed 1,215. He is now the nominee for the Republican Party. In the Georgia primary, Donald Trump won 496,755 votes. That's 85%, all 56 delegates. He overwhelmingly won every county with over 60% except for 2 around the Atlanta area. Donald Trump rolling to victory here in Georgia. In Mississippi, Donald Trump with 93% of the votes gets all 40 delegates, and he is rolled in every county, winning an average of over 90% in many of the counties. In Washington State, out on the West Coast, on the left coast, Donald Trump cruises with 74% of the votes and wins 43 delegates by taking the state in its entirety. And then finally, in the Hawaii caucuses, Donald Trump with 97% of the caucus goers gets all 13 delegates. And that becomes Trump, which is odd. It says no results here, but here we have the results. So who knows what's going on there. House Democrats have discovered there's a problem at the border. Why? Because they're losing in the election. Poll after poll, Democrats are being blamed for the criminal alien invasion of the United States, the bifurcation of the society, the destruction of our communities, and the undue burden placed on us by criminal alien invaders who have the arrogance to violate our sovereignty and then claim fake asylum. So the House Democrats have woken up to the reality that their failed policies to intentionally destroy this country, to import foreigners to vote in our elections and destroy the demographics of this country is not a winning ticket. So now they suddenly formed a task force for the border. That's right. The newly formed task force will provide a forum for House demon rats to contribute to ongoing discussions regarding border security. And I say demon rats because these are not Democrats. These are leftist, hard-wing radicals that we're talking about here. A group of 26 House Democrats launched a new border security task force Tuesday to address the influx of irregular migration at the southern border. Irregular migration. No. This is criminal alien invasion. Not irregular. There's nothing irregular about it. It's funded and it's organized by big groups, including non-government organizations in the United States, subverting this nation, committing treason on a daily basis. Why? Because they get money from the corrupt federal government for housing, facilitating, and taking care of these criminal alien invaders who have no business in our country whatsoever. We must obey the laws of other countries when we go there. They must do the same. Now, for the hate wankers and the race hustlers and the losers out there on the political left who are going to make claims that this is xenophobic, it's anti-immigrant, that's nonsense. I've said this many, many times, that this is a country full of immigrants, a country that has been enriched by the addition of immigrant groups, a country that is unified in a melting pot by people bringing their distinctive cultural traits to our society, but then adhering to our values, mores, and norms. That is no longer the case. People are coming here and dividing themselves into separate, segregated communities with no intention whatsoever to integrate into America and demanding that we follow Sharia, demanding that we do things from the broken countries they came from, while sucking benefits out of our tax pockets and pushing up housing prices and kicking veterans out of retirement facilities to facilitate people who invaded our country. Simple as that. The 700,000 to 900,000 legal immigrants who come here each year and after several years apply for and then qualify and take an oath to become American citizens are very welcome in this country. And they're almost all people of color. Of course, that's a nonsense phrase anyway. It's a racist phrase. We're all people of color. I happen to be pink. That's a color. At least it is inside my crayon box. Well, in a major blow for Boeing, United said enough is enough. The latest announcement came after United had announced that it was not expecting any deliveries of this type in coming years. United Airlines tells Boeing to stop building the MAX 10s and switch to MAX 9s. United Airlines CEOs decided to halt Boeing 737 MAX 10 production in favor of the MAX 9 due to certification uncertainties. The bad news keeps coming for Boeing, one of the world's most storied aircraft manufacturers. Recent headlines such as Alaska Airlines, Boeing 737 MAX 9 door plug blowout, and missing documentation regarding the work done in the plane have certainly not been favorable for Boeing. In today's remarks from Scott Kirby, that's a nasty, evil CEO who fired pilots for not getting the jab, are a massive statement regarding United's trust or lack thereof in manufacturing. But you know what, United? Do you want to know what, United? We don't trust United as consumers. You are a vile airline that abused its pilots and its employees, that is almost never on time, that has provided piss-poor consumer experiences for me almost every time I've flown your plane. So that's not a product tag. That's a product slam. United Airlines. So you can make your decisions against Boeing, and that's your prerogative. But we as consumers will avoid United with a passion whenever possible. Of course, the corrupt system that the Federal Aviation Administration and the federal government have allowed to exist in this country by letting the major carriers merge but no one else merge has resulted in monopolies across the country. And unfortunately, if you want to fly from Harrisburg to many places, you have no choice but to fly United. So I must drive to BWI, Dulles, Newark, or JFK to avoid United, all of which take me at least 2 hours or more and a lot of fuel and time. Rumble makes a big announcement. It will have Rumble Cloud, a cloud and hosting platform to break the grip of big tech censorship. An online infrastructure provider dedicated to the free and open internet, or so they claim. Today came with a game-changing announcement from Rumble, a cloud service provider and reputed video share. Well, they're not reputed. They're actually a genuine video sharing platform. Following successful beta launch entrusted by the patronage of high-profile clients, Rumble Cloud, its newest infrastructure as a service solution, has officially been unveiled to the public. So there you go. Its primary mission is to act as a bulwark for open internet free from censorship and assert independence from the predatory pricing restrictive measures of dominant companies. Well, we'll see if Dan Bongino's Rumble can pull it off. The federal government of the United States spent twice as much money in February as it took in revenue. Yeah, that's right, folks, twice as much money. Yep, the U.S. national deficit surged in February as income declined and expenses rose, resulting in the federal government spending more than double what it collected in 1 month. The federal government collected $271 billion in February, mostly through taxes and social insurance and retirement payments, but spent $567 billion for a deficit of $296 billion for the year. For the month. The gain in February raised the total debt in the fiscal year to $828 billion. Joe Biden's budget now has had an $828 billion deficit. That is nearly 4 times the size of the entire South African economy, our deficit alone. And the federal government is only a portion of our spending in this country. They're 1/4 of our country's GDP, the federal government, 21 to 25%, somewhere in there. So 1/4, that means that deficit for the year is absolutely insane. October, November, December, January, February, 5 months, less than half a year, $828 billion deficit. In 6 months, we'll be over $1 trillion, which means for the year, we're likely, especially after we pay back tax refunds in April, May, we will likely see a $2 trillion deficit for this year. But Joe Biden says it's okay. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax the rich. Well, the bloodletting has started with Ronna McDaniel and her rhinos being ousted from the Republican National Committee. Over 60 staffers booted as the bloodbath begins. More than 60 staffers reported out of the Republican National Committee following the departure of former chair Ronna McDaniel. In an article titled Bloodbath at the RNC, team/staff at committee, Politico said, as move comes as the Trump campaign took over operational control of the RNC. The Trump campaign, if you say so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this one is interesting here. So I was going to play this at the beginning, but I got busy and didn't do it. So now we're going to play it here. All right, you ready for this? This is in testimony yesterday from Mr. Hurd, the investigator into Joe Biden's stolen classified documents.
Mr. Hurd, classified documents were found at the Penn Biden Center?
That's correct.
They were found in President Biden's garage?
In Wilmington, Delaware, yes.
And in his basement den?
Also in the same home, yes.
In his main floor office?
Correct.
And his third floor den?
Correct.
At the University of Delaware?
Correct.
And at the Biden Institute?
Correct.
Mr. Hurd, classified documents.
Let me reiterate that. The Democrats are trying to tell us that Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to play that for you again. I'm going to play this video for you again. The Democrats are telling us that Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong. But listen to this testimony from Mr. Hurd.
Mr. Hurd, classified documents were found at the Penn Biden Center?
That's correct.
They were found in President Biden's garage?
In Wilmington, Delaware, yes.
And in his basement den?
Also in the same home, yes.
In his main floor office?
Correct.
And his third floor den?
Correct.
At the University of Delaware?
Correct.
And at the Biden Institute?
Correct.
Mr. Hurd, classified documents were found at the Penn Biden.
Okay, so basically classified documents that Joe Biden stole were found everywhere. 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 Wow. Dollar Tree has a massive loss. This is one of the discount stores here in America. There's one down the road from here. They have lost $1.7 billion in 1 quarter. That's an $8 billion a year loss. That's insane. Earnings for the holiday quarter were wiped out by billions of dollars in charges tied to the review of the company's portfolio of stores, and the company plans to close 1,000 stores over the next few years. The dollar store operator reported a loss of $1.71 billion or $8 a share for the 3 months, compared to a profit of $452 million a year earlier. Stripping out more than $2 billion in charges tied to the portfolio review, earnings were $2.55 a share. Shares fell more than 9% in pre-market trading. But the economy is going well. Yeah. No, it's just gangbusters here. Speaking of the economy going well and sellouts, remember when Joe Rogan got a massive contract for his boring podcast by Spotify, the Swedish company? Remember that 2 years ago? Somebody didn't like that. A certain 1960s and 70s pseudo-rocker who did something called trans long before transsexual was the thing. He had an album called Trans. Neil Young said, "I'm pulling my music from Spotify." But the sellout, turncoat, lion sack of manure, Neil Young, comes back to Spotify and gives a lame excuse of why he does it. He needs money. This clown needs money. Neil Young will return to Spotify after a 2-year boycott over Joe Rogan. He says he had no choice but to return to Spotify because of wider distribution of Rogan's podcast. Neil Young said to allow his music to return to Spotify 2 years after the singer pulled his catalog over opposition to the streaming service's relationship with podcaster Joe Rogan. He penned an open letter to his manager and label in 2022 asking them to remove his music from the platform, saying it was spreading fake information about Rona jabs through Rogan's show. Last month, the Wall Street Journal reported Rogan had reached a deal that would allow his podcast to be distributed more widely, a change from his prior exclusive deal with Spotify. So, announcing return of his music to the service, the Heart of Gold and Harvest Moon singer said he now had no choice but to go back to Spotify. Actually, you have a choice. Shut up and go home. We're not listening to your crappy drug music from the 60s and 70s, Neil Young. You proved who you were. You proved who you were. So shut up. You don't like free speech unless it's leftist speech. Well, this is an interesting development. Libs of TikTok, who expose all sorts of hypocrisy and nonsense, has found something that I question, is this real? These are the profiles of New Jersey inmate database. Does anyone notice a strange pattern happening here? Now I'm going to show you a database that Libs of TikTok reports comes from New Jersey criminal justice system. These are people entered in the system. Now, when you look at crime statistics, they are delineated, despite what was said yesterday by Menage a Trois, they are delineated by race. That's why what he said doesn't make any sense yesterday. I was confused. The FBI does collect data based on race. Otherwise, what's the point of this lie? So here you go. Now, in the aftermath of the George Floyd death, criminal justice system began allowing black criminals a free pass to rape and murder and run around the country. And it's been happening in Philadelphia, in New York, in New Jersey, all over the country. Now, that's not a condemnation of black Americans, but it is a condemnation of black criminals who are getting away with murder simply because they have sufficient skin pigmentation. Look at how they alter the data on convicted criminals in prison. This is the prison population of New Jersey. Look at all these white fellas. So, the gentleman on the left, the inmate Rodell Jones, he's listed as white. Then we have Alan Adamez, who's listed as white with his cornrows. Then we have Edwin Alamo listed as white. And then finally, William Cruz listed as white and Hispanic. These are white members of the New Jersey prison system convicted of violent crimes. You can find this at www.doc.state.newjerseynj.us. Yeah. There you go. There you go. This is how no government can ever be trusted again. No government can ever be trusted again. If this level of manipulation is going on, you're going to tell me that these men are white. Now, why would that happen other than to distort the truth? Libs of TikTok does us a great service by telling us about this. I'm going to save this image. Yeah. Wow. Wow. They're not colorblind, Gavin. It's an intentional effort to claim that most criminals are white. And of course, most criminals are white. That's just factual. We don't need to manipulate data. Whites make up 76% of the population. Just by mere sheer numbers, the odds are there'll be more violent criminals who are white numerically than there are black. But because there's a disproportionate percentage of black criminals based on the black population, they want to lie about it and distort the outcomes. But at the same time, they make the false claim that black men are unjustly or unduly incarcerated at higher rates. How do you support that when you're putting black criminals in jail and calling them white in the database? Well, do you use Uber or Lyft? Good luck with that, folks. Don't pre-book your flights. This Wall Street Journal article, this is from Dawn Gilbertson. She said that Uber and Lyft promote advanced reservations that encourage type A travelers like airport dads to schedule a ride for smoother travels to and from the airport and other destinations. Sounds like a win-win, right? Well, it turns out that punctuality has a steep price. Last summer, Dawn Gilbertson booked a $55.06 early morning ride to the airport in Phoenix, Arizona. She didn't discover that $19.31 of that was a reservation fee until she looked at her receipt. So the $55, they charge her $19.31 to push a button on her app using her phone that she bought and her communications network that she pays for with a carrier to change a piece of electronic information on their website. $19.31. She was also charged $7.61 for booking. What, like there was a reservation agent involved? No. And a $4.75 airport surcharge. Well, that's not unusual. airports soak customers. And then, but we don't know if that actually is the airport surcharge or taken by Uber. And then the total cost of the fare was actually $23.39, but she paid $55.06. Wow. Wow. Punctuality is white supremacy. Yeah, I know. I get the message. Where you been, Nexus Thought? You've been missing for too long. Well, in Arizona, University of Arizona, they're teaching white people that they're inherently racist. Once again, libs of TikTok exposing this nonsense. Teachers, University of Arizona teaches white students they are violent oppressors because of their skin color. If you're white, straight, or male, you're a privileged oppressor. They teach that whiteness makes you violent, and there's a giant societal power system called the kyriarchy, which includes white privilege and cis privilege. What the hell is kyriarchy and cis privilege? Merit and democracy are myths. It seems to me that the obliviousness about white advantage, like obliviousness about male advantage, is kept strongly enculturated in the United States so as to maintain the myth of meritocracy, the myth that democratic choice is equally available to all, keeping most people unaware that freedom of confident action for them is just a small number of people. Wow. Whiteness makes you violent. In proportion as my racial group was being made confident, comfortable, and oblivious, other groups were likely being made unconfident. What? Whiteness protect me from any kinds of hostility. Really? Did whiteness protect me from being attacked by a teenage black thug and his friends, thrown to the ground as a 7-year-old at a housing development in Crownsville, Maryland, and pinned by my shoulders to the ground by this thug, frightening me and his brother, and then pulling a switchblade out and running it across my throat? Did whiteness protect me then? No, it did not. Whiteness is a blank check. You're a moron, whoever wrote this. Beware of the giant kyriarchy power system. This is just made up garbage. We need to understand privilege in the context of power systems. Society is affected by a number of different power systems: patriarchy, white supremacy, heterosexualism, cisism, and classism, to name a few. And apparently our universities are populated by racist, hate-mongering dirtbags. Wow. And that's how we're going to end the news with that story. That is just bat crap crazy. But that's University of Arizona. That's what they're teaching people. Libs of TikTok once again exposing this nonsense. Crazy. 70 people currently here. Just 56 likes. Come on, man. Why is it so hard to push the like button? It doesn't take but a moment of your time.
That was easy.
Yes, bull crapism. I agree. All right. That coal power system, huh? All right. Let's go back and see what the comments are from people. This time my timestamps have stayed on. Interesting. All right. All right, where are we at here? So, Kronstadt will run entirely out of water in midwinter since when the water was flowing, the ANC emitters did not pump water in the reservoir. Yep, because they're idiots. Yep, slippery pickle. It says dirt bin. The valve was closed because nobody wears watches. Okay. Is it true that American military martial law for America? What will FEMA camps be used for? Mario, where are you getting this from? I got this nonsense from someone who's helping with my campaign last night. He said, there won't be an election in November. I said, what are you talking about? Well, they're going to declare martial law and FEMA will set up camps. Where are people spreading this stuff? FEMA can't set up camps and has no authority to do such thing. Americans have almost 500 million firearms. Do you really think that the government coming to take people is going to go very well for very long? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Muriel, that was a story that someone related to me yesterday. I'm like, where'd you get it? And they couldn't give me a substantiation, couldn't give me any facts, couldn't give me any places where the information came from. People are spreading all kinds of rumors about events here. We will see. We will see. But that is almost impossible. He's already served the country and stolen everything. Gondongwana should swap the tax tables. Yep. All right, I was already here. Brian Cox, that's the public servants. They want to raise, and they're the boss. Yep. Okay. Do you know? Okay, I know Douglas McGregor already said that. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's not safe for them to be led. Yeah, no, Grasshopper. Those people from that community have nowhere to go, and they don't want to be put on the street because they're going to be murdered by vigilantes. Whether they're guilty or not, if we're talking about Jocelyn Smith, the mother, the boyfriend, and the other person, whether they're guilty or not. So, Jonathan, I asked you about the Oppenheimers. Let's see if you gave me some information on it. 2,000 Rand per poster in each poll. Someone making billions. Oh, yeah. Look, Bernard, buy signs cost $10. 200 Rand per sign. That goes in a yard. 200 Rand. It's insane. Those signs were $3 just a couple years ago. This just Joe Biden inflation is killing people. Only the rich and those who mortgage their future, like me, can run for political office. Your clock is a minute behind. No, it's not. No, it's not. Actually, yes, it is. It's a child. Color doesn't matter. It's disgusting. Indeed, Bernard. Indeed. Are you telling me that? Are you telling me? Or are you agreeing with me? Because I get attacked by black supremacists and white liberal racists all the time who misrepresent what I write. In fact, the video I did about the ANC not having any white folks, the nonsense that people respond to that was just comical. And I obliterated them in like 30 seconds with comments. It took very little time to do it. John says Ivan is being pedantic. He is. Well, Mark, when you said it was synced earlier, my clock, it's synced. Well, it's not synced now, but the problem is, where was it at? Was it at 10 seconds after the hour when the minute was actually 1 minute ahead? Anyway. Says, problem with the ANC came power, they stole everything. Well, that's true. African cults, okay, I already got that. Gosh, I've already been here too. So, ANC shut down manufacturing, we don't have jobs, at least control the markets. Exactly. What happens when they have a godless country and mostly witchcraft? Yeah, Muriel, a godless country is right. Putting kids on puberty blockers like being brainwashed and forcing crap on your child. At this point, parent has failed the child. Yep. Trump will walk this election. Well, I hope so, Gavin. It's a question of not having parents be mental afterwards. Some people shouldn't breed. Yep. Yeah, but they're the most prevalent breeders. An island in the Caribbean. Okay. Border is the definition of a country. Well, it's definition of a territorial boundary. I wouldn't say it's definition of a country. What's the word of the day? Greece is the word of the day, RJ. That is a lot of dollars that they lost. Yep. Someone is colorblind. Yes, indeed. Is my white privilege there too? Charles can't find it. Yeah, well, I don't have the card. I left it. The inferiority is amazing. My ex-girlfriend is in that lineup. Garrett. Your ex-girlfriend is in that lineup. Victimhood is a major problem. It is. Have you warmed up to Fetterman yet, Colonel? No, I have not. Fetterman is a wackadoodle who failed to do his job as the lieutenant governor, showing up about 40% of the time max to do his job. The rest of he just took vacation days because he didn't feel well. John Fetterman is a disgrace to the U.S. Senate. He's a disgrace to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I have nothing but derisive thoughts about him. 2 minutes. Mine says you're 2 minutes behind. No, this says 1 minute. I'm not going to get up and change it. It'll take a few minutes. So, yep. False flag operation by the Dems will easily get USA into martial law. Hence, no vote. Also, this is a joke. That's funny. Thank you for that, RJ. Yeah, anyway, how y'all doing out there, folks? I'm just looking to see if I've got... Okay, I do have a request for something else. Hang on a second here. Sure. All right. So I've got to send something. What's this? Oh, it's trying to get money from me, the Republican Party. You give me money so I can get elected. Don't ask me for money, man. So the Washington Examiner says Trump is in the driver's seat, pulling away from Biden. The fall presidential election is Donald Trump's to lose, says the Washington Examiner, a conservative media outlet from the nation's capital. A day after winning enough delegates to secure the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, the former president has taken the lead in several polls and expanding his winning gap over all the leading Democrats. What's more, voters appear to be warming to his return while further rejecting Joe Biden. A new Suffolk USA Today poll, hardly a conservative outlet, surveys showed that voters approved of Trump's presidency more than they do of Biden's. Just 41% approve of the job Biden is doing. Where are these 41% of Americans? Are they blind? While 49% approve of the way Trump handled his job in the Oval Office. I'll accept that. Then there is the first survey of how voters viewed Biden's State of the Union address, which the media called feisty, energetic, and the best ever given. A Yahoo News YouGov found that voters didn't buy the media's hype and were not sold on Biden's sudden, though short-lived, energetic performance. The latest Rasmussen Reports survey shared with Secrets showed a growing lead for Trump over Biden and two potential Democratic alternatives, Governor Gavin Newsom of California and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Rasmussen revealed that Trump's lead over Biden has increased by 2 points in a month and is now at 49% to 41. Biden has been stuck at 41 in the poll for a second month. Trump is also leading Newsom by 17 points. Gruesome Gavin Newsom trails Donald Trump in a potential presidential race 51 to 34. And he's up over Michelle Obama by 7 points at 50 to 43. Both Newsom and Obama have publicly said they aren't running, though some party officials are urging them to be part of a brokered convention. In the survey, Obama's numbers showed support among Democrats and opposition by Republicans were nearly identical to the president's. Her edge over Biden was among black voters. Notably and importantly, Trump leads Biden, Newsom, and Obama among independent voters, seen as the key to winning it all in November. Versus Biden, Trump leads with independents 45 to 33, a 12-point lead for Donald Trump amongst independents. Over Newsom, he has a 19-point lead, 49 to 30. And against Michelle Obama, With independence, it's 48-40. Donald Trump is wiping the floor with these people. Amazing the crap some people will home in on. Nobody ever commented before you had the clock there. Yeah, it's true, Ken. It's true. Still understand the reasons for Eskom price. They're already giving less for more. Well, Charles, because the price of electricity in South Africa is artificially low. You're still not paying global market-based rates for electricity. It may not seem that way in South Africa, where your rates were long subsidized by a state-owned entity, but you are not paying the market price for electricity, what it actually costs to generate it. That's why the rates keep going up. On top of that, the theft, the pilferage, the misuse of funds has made that situation worse, requiring these major hikes. And on top of that, all the deadbeats, the deadbeat municipalities, the deadbeat residential properties, the deadbeat businesses that owe, excuse me, that owe billions of rand to Eskom is another reason why your rates are going up. You're paying for other people getting away with not paying. Natalia and Clayton got my message. Imagine a wee lad from Southwest Africa elevating you to office. Pity you ain't running South Africa. I don't know what we're talking about again. I saw your messages. I guess these are some shows. I don't know who Natalia and Clayton are, but okay. I'll be happy to go on their program. But The Rock will run as a Democratic nominee. Trump versus The Rock will be interesting. Matthew Dixon, The Rock. That is funny. Let me go ahead and set up an automatic redirect to Ronaldo. You know, I can't do redirects on things that are already done. That sucks. You can only do so much customization. I hate that. So redirect. Let's go over here. Where is Ronaldo at? Steve Hofmeyer is in studio. Where's Ronaldo? Why is Ronaldo not on here? Oh, there it is. Okay. Boy, it's got me a whole bunch of channels. I thought you had to have approval. I guess people automatically approve me. Unless Biden passes away, they will go with him. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So the ANC imploding, that's the one I did about how they're in trouble. That video did well the first couple hours, and then it did okay for the first 4 or 5 hours. Then it tailed off and did almost nothing. And now a day later, suddenly it's taking off again. You know, I'm getting 100, 200 views per hour, which is good. It's ticked up to 1,600 views. Yeah, so that's good. Wish it had been 16,000. But anyway, so that's that one. Actually, it's 7,500. So there we go. What's not 1,600? Wait a second. Why does that say 7,500 views? This one says 1,600. What the heck? That must be an old chart. Let's reload it and see if it's from Cache. Yeah, no, that chart is okay. Let's just do it. Yeah, that's in the last 48 hours. So that's a video I did. That's crazy. It's telling me 1,600 views, and I have 7,500 views on it. YouTube, you are scumbags, man. That video has, yeah, and then the other one, the EFF violence, that one is at nearly 10,000 now. Wow, 9,400. That one's died off because it was just lasted for a day. The ANC candidate list for Parliament, that one now is over 10,000. It's 11,900 and climbing. Keep going. That one's currently getting about 500 views per hour. Thank you for that, South Africa. 46 new subscribers. This is up 72% over a standard video of mine. That's pretty cool. Put a lot of effort into that. Where's the ANC's white leaders? Thank you, Green Phantom, for subscribing. There's another subscriber. That's pretty cool. That one's getting traction. South Africa's elections are going to do me well. And if I don't win the primary in April, then I'll spend a lot of time in South Africa, and maybe that'll even help me more when I'm there. We'll see. But I want to win the primary. So that's my. Now, the other one, the one I did last night, which I think is a very insightful, in-depth analysis, that one's not doing very well. That only has 871 views. That's the South Africa's 2024 election coalition scenarios. I think that's a great one. Great analysis. You watch other analysts watch my video and start stealing my analysis. You watch. Watch other YouTubers and watch the mainstream media, and they'll start coming up with scenarios. I'm the first to do it. I'm the first to do it. Anyway, so yeah. And then the videos I just did, hang on a second here. There we go. And yeah, no, that's the ones that are growing. Hang on a second. Something isn't right here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, got it. Cool. Anyway. There we go. So, yeah, we're getting a few more subscribers. If we keep this pace up for a few days, we'll get over 15,000, which has been somewhere I'm trying to get for a long time. Remember, we used to have 23,000 on the original channel. Excuse me. Is your ghost mom watching? Who is my ghost mom? Are you for real? Redacted. USA, 5 million views plus. Well, you're almost 60. Huh? Oh, I've heard of Redacted, but I don't know who the people with Redacted are. Yeah, I am for real, Garrett. And no, I'm not almost 60. I'm just 59. Yeah, so I just don't know who those people are. Sorry. out black is the only way to solve blackouts. Have you watched the interview between Tucker and Q and No, I haven't. He's a wackadoodle, and I have not watched that. Not Tucker, but the shaman, the QAnon shaman. Yeah, no. I don't know who those people are. Sorry. Yeah, I do not know. Anyway, there was something. Oops, somebody said I'm talking rubbish. 70% white. I never said there were 70% white people. What is this guy talking about here? What are you talking? What? So this guy, Becky Mahola, 5,500, says, you're talking rubbish. There's no 70% whites in South Africa. They're less than 10%. No, B, I'm not even African criminal supporter. I said, what are you smoking? Stop rolling that Zal. I never said that. I said 7 to 8%. So where's the percent sign here? Stop lying and clean your ears out. Yep. Yeah, so that's on the ANC thing. So, got another subscriber while we're here. I think Joe did a line before his speech. No, they hopped him up on amphetamines. No doubt about it. Matthew Dixon, you behave no older than a 12-year-old. So thank you for sharing that. Next analogy, great extraction of intel. It's what you don't say that worries me. There's a well of information. Seen an interesting interview with MK's youth leader, hates colonialism, loves white universities. Yeah, exactly. Well, the ANC hates white people, but all their lawyers are white. The EFF hates white people and white colonialism and white supremacy, yet all their lawyers are white. Yeah, they give him an ice cream too, so, yep. Redacted is worth watching. Okay, where do I find Redacted? On YouTube? On Twitter? Redacted. Redacted. 2.3. You said 5 million followers.
Well, we want to welcome in our friend Tucker Carlson now because, wow.
Oh, that guy. That guy. Okay. I know who that guy is. Yeah. Okay. Is his name Clayton? Clayton Morris. Okay. All right. Now I know you're talking about it. You keep saying Clayton and Naledi. Who's Naledi? I mean, Naledi sounds like a South African. It's Tswana for star. And Clayton, that could be anything. So now I'm catching on to what he was saying earlier. All right. What else we got here? Yeah, well, on YouTube, it doesn't have 5 million. Garrett said they have 5 million viewers. They have 2.32 million. And they have 3,500 views. Oh, Natali, not Naledi. It's Natali. Ah, okay. So I see that now. It's up the top. I'm subscribed to this channel. Yeah, so I don't get any updates from it, but I'm subscribed to this channel. That's what you're talking about. So why, Garrett? Why? I see that it says with Natali and Clay Morris. So you watch that channel and you ask them to have me on. Am I catching up now, Garrett? I've been really busy with campaign stuff. So is that what you're saying? And have they expressed an interest? That would be cool. Are they conservatives? Let me see. Former Fox News anchor, that's why I know him. Natalie Morris, a former anchor for MSNBC, CNBC, and CBS News. Well, that's not reliable. The married couple, not brother and sister, and former mainstream news professionals take an in-depth look at the news mainstream media largely ignores. They explore the legal, social, financial, and personal issues that matter to you. Well, I do the same thing, but I wasn't on Fox News, so I don't have an automatic community, which kind of sucks for me. They have 552 million views. Well, that's far more than my 5 million views on all these platforms. Not to, oh, by the way, as a photographer for Google Maps, I have 20 million views. Don't even try there, but I've got 20 million views. They joined in 2015. All right. It's cool beans. Lucky them. I think I'd love to go on there. Thoughts on Robert Hur? Robert Hur is a sellout. Robert Hur used the language of the special counsel appointment to walk a fine line to not hurt Joe Biden, but appear to be legal. He did follow the rules. He did come up with correct conclusions, with the exception that the argument that he made is akin to what James Comey made, in which he said no reasonable prosecutor would ever bring charge against Hillary Clinton. That's nonsense. Unreasonable prosecutors have brought charges in Manhattan. Alvin Bragg against Donald Trump. In Manhattan, Letitia James against Donald Trump. In Atlanta, Fani Willis versus Donald Trump. In D.C., and now the case is being tried in Florida where he lives by, of course, Jack Smith. These are unreasonable prosecutors. So why in the world would no reasonable prosecutor bring charge against Hillary Clinton, who stole top secret, sensitive compartment information and put it on a server in a broom closet and then shared the data with uncleared people like Uma Abedin, who shared it with her pedo husband, Anthony Weiner? Exposing America's secrets and its collection capabilities and jeopardizing our methods, sources and methods for the Iranians, the Chinese, the Germans, the Russians, any adversary. Yes, I said Germans. I said Germans. Yes. Yes. Hillary Clinton should have been in a federal prison, but she's not. She's not. The Massachusetts airman who did something similar, took data, stole it, shared it in a small group on Discord, is getting at least 18 years in prison for violating the Espionage Act. Hillary Clinton violated the Espionage Act. And James Comey lied and subverted the justice system, which was not his role. Her is subverting the justice system by making the same argument, claiming that Joe Biden is a sympathetic old person who doesn't know what he's doing, and then lying and saying that he did know what he's doing in 2017. How can you claim that? How can you claim that? You didn't evaluate him in 2017. You have no scientific or medical evidence to prove that he wasn't cogent in 2017. And more shockingly, if he is cogent, then why didn't your report say that the 25th Amendment should be invoked to remove him from the office by the cabinet? If he's not mentally competent to know whether he was willfully stealing. And then you also said that he willfully stole the information. The elements of the crime are there. The evidence is there. The preponderance evidence is everywhere. Joe Biden is a felon. Joe Biden, and I'm not talking about the border and Title 42. I'm not talking about pay for play in Burisma or in China. None of that. I'm talking about his theft of top secret sensitive compartment information documents for years. What Hurd didn't tell us, which is a lie, is that those documents predate his time as vice president. Some of them. Some of those documents he stole when he was a senator. And these are the ones we found. How many hundreds or thousands of classified documents did Joe Biden take home on a routine basis every day? We know for a fact from his White House communications team that was assigned to Joe Biden that he habitually stole classified information from the White House, put it in his satchel, went on the Acela train to Delaware on the weekend, and opened it up in front of uncleared civilians on an uncleared facility, a train, on public transport. And when he was admonished by his staff, he said, "These are my people." He's a criminal. He's a criminal. He's a criminal. There's no question. Ladies and gentlemen, I investigated people who committed these crimes. Every element of the crime is present. And we have his own admission. So Ben-Hur's conclusions are garbage. He gave Joe Biden a way out. Doesn't count ghost mom views. Maybe your actual views don't match your views because what YouTube counts as views. Oh, yeah. Slowing the uptake. They are independent like you. Thank me if it works. Like my skirt says, we're in construction industry. Yeah, I am a little slow in the uptake, Garrett, because sometimes, dude, you're drinking too much wine and you send me stuff that I can't even understand. But yes, I was slow up the uptake. I know what you're talking about. You just start throwing names out. Naledi and Clayton. I don't even know who Naledi and Clayton or Natalia and Clayton are. I don't know that. And then someone did mention redacted, but I mean, it wasn't anyway. So yeah, a little slow in the uptake. System is so rigged, Dems get away with this. Yeah, in fact, it is. Nexus of thought. It's very rigged because a lot of people just don't know. I mean, it beggars the imagination how little people know about America. And listen, as a candidate for elected office, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. Yesterday, I had to answer a survey from the National Federation of Independent Businesses, and I had to think hard about my responses because they asked what I thought were leading questions and also questions that were tricky to answer. So I had to think about it. I had to put my thinking cap on and think about that in order to answer their questions. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, yeah, I recognize him from Fox News. Yep. I didn't know they were married. I don't know her. She's from leftist media outlets I never watch. I don't watch Fox News anymore either. It hasn't for a long time. Now we have 72 likes and 71 people here. That's better. All right, I got to go. Ronaldo's ready. Let me see if Ronaldo's ready. Okay, Roger. All right, I'm leaving now. We'll see you over on Ronaldo in just a couple minutes, folks. Thanks a lot for being here. Cheers.